There are superstars, and then there are architects of change. Seth Rollins didn't just chase greatness, he designed it brick by brick. From flipping off balconies in bingo halls to flipping the script at WrestleMania, Rollins has been WWE's most daring risk-taker, its most relentless workhorse, and its most unpredictable storyteller. He's betrayed brothers, redefined championship gold, reinvented himself more times than anyone since Chris Jericho. And now, he stands at the center of WWE's future, alongside Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker. This is the story of how Seth Rollins didn't just survive the system, he rebuilt it in his image. So buckle up, hit that like button, and let's dive into the legacy of the visionary, the architect, the drip god himself, Seth Freakin Rollins. Let's rewind the clock. It's 2010. WWE is searching for its future. John Cena is still on top, but they need the next wave. Someone who can be more than just a corporate product. Someone with the indie edge, but the WWE polish. Enter Tyler Black, soon to be rebranded as Seth Rollins. From the moment he stepped into FCW and then NXT, Rollins stood out, not because of his look or his size, but because of his energy. His style was fast, furious, and athletic in ways WWE hadn't fully embraced yet. He wasn't just putting on matches, he was creating moments. When Rollins became the first ever NXT champion in 2012, it wasn't just a title win, it was WWE planting a flag and saying, "This is the future we want." He didn't realize it then, but Seth Rollins was about to be the blueprint for how WWE would transition into a new era. Because just as he began finding his footing as a solo act, WWE had bigger plans. And that's when the sirens started to wail, and WWE unleashed the Shield, a force, a brotherhood that would shake the very foundation of the main roster. The Shield didn't walk into WWE, they stormed in like a revolution. November 2012, Survivor Series. 3 men in tactical gear, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins, debut by powerbombing Ryback through a table. And in that single moment, WWE changed. They were raw, aggressive, and unpredictable, and at the center of the chaos, holding it all together like a mad scientist, was Seth Rollins. He was the glue, the high flyer, the architect. While Roman was the power and Ambrose the wild card, Rollins was the ring general, the one who took the bumps, took the risks, and made the group's matches must-watch television. The Shield raised the bar for what 6-man tag matches could be. They made storytelling inside the ring feel like cinema. And for a while, they were untouchable. But all revolutions have their Judas. It was June 2nd, 2014, a date forever etched into the minds of WWE fans. Raw had just ended with the Shield standing tall after dismantling Evolution. The war seemed won, the Brotherhood stronger than ever. But then, the unthinkable happened. Triple H gave a simple nod. Seth Rollins grabbed a steel chair and drove it into Roman Reigns' back. One shot, then another to Dean Ambrose. Gasps turned to boos. Silence turned to outrage. The architect of the Shield had become the traitor of the Brotherhood. For the fans, it was betrayal. For Rollins, it was strategy. Cold, calculated, and career-altering. Chants of "you sold out" rained from the rafters week after week. But behind those jeers was something even more powerful: attention. Rollins was no longer just the glue guy in the Shield. He was now the focal point, the villain WWE desperately needed after CM Punk's departure and Daniel Bryan's injury left a massive void. Under the guidance of the Authority, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, Rollins evolved. The suit, the arrogance, the smirk, it all clicked. And yet, despite being the heel, fans couldn't ignore the brilliance in the ring. The athleticism, the innovation, the Phoenix Splash, the curb stomp, the non-stop energy. He made you hate him and still stole the show every single night. In the absence of Punk's edge and Bryan's underdog charm, Rollins created a new prototype, the corporate rebel, a man who sold out not to survive, but to thrive. And love him or hate him, you couldn't deny it anymore. Seth Rollins was main event material, but if the betrayal shattered hearts, what came next would blow minds. They say betrayal ends trust, but for Seth Rollins, it started a legacy, and less than a year later, he would pull off the single greatest Money in the Bank cash-in of all time, right on the grandest stage of them all. It was WrestleMania 31. The lights in Levi's Stadium burned bright, illuminating the 76,000 fans in attendance. The main event: Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. It was a battle of titans, Lesnar versus Roman. The match was pure chaos, suplex after suplex, brutality from bell to bell. But despite the brutality, something was missing. The fans weren't sure who to root for. The atmosphere was intense, but uncertain. Then, it happened. Lesnar and Reigns lay battered in the ring after a hellacious exchange event. He handed the briefcase to the referee. The match turned into a triple threat on the spot. Rollins took advantage of the destruction, curb-stomping Roman Reigns into the mat, pinning him to defeat. And just like that, Seth Rollins was WWE World Heavyweight Champion. This moment redefined what Money in the Bank could be. No longer a mid-card gimmick. It became a legitimate main event weapon. And Seth Rollins was the one who showed the world how dangerous it could be in the right hands. He didn't just grab the brass ring that Vince McMahon was always talking about. He melted it down, reforged it into a sword, and stabbed it into the heart of the old WWE narrative. Seth Rollins' first WWE Championship reign was a masterclass in modern heel work. He ducked challengers, hid behind the authority, ran from Brock Lesnar, and yet in every match he performed like his life depended on it. He took on legends like John Cena and Sting. He defended the title against all comers. But greatness always comes at a cost. For all his championship glory, for every show-stealing performance and every main event match, Seth Rollins' body was writing checks it couldn't keep cashing. Week in, week out, he carried WWE on his back until his knee finally gave out. Because while Seth Rollins had become the face of Monday Night Raw, he was about to face his toughest opponent yet, time away from the ring. It was November 2015. During a live event in Dublin, Ireland, Rollins tears his ACL, MCL, and medial meniscus in one of the most devastating injuries of the decade. Just like that, his reign was over. The title vacated, momentum gone. But this is where Seth Rollins became something more than just a great wrestler. He became a fighter. He documented his recovery. And when he returned at Extreme Rules 2016, laying out Roman Reigns with a pedigree, fans cheered. Not because he turned face, but because they missed him. This wasn't a storybook return. This was real. He had rebuilt himself, and the crowd felt every ounce of that journey. From 2016 onward, Seth Rollins became the measuring stick of in-ring performance in WWE. In an era where stars came and went, Rollins remained consistent. His 2018 Gauntlet match performance on Raw, lasting over an hour, and defeating both Roman Reigns and John Cena, cemented him as the guy fans trusted to deliver magic. He became Intercontinental Champion and elevated it beyond mid-card status. He main evented WrestleMania 35 and beat Brock Lesnar clean, not once, but twice, and all while putting on matches that blurred the lines between indie intensity and WWE storytelling. But Seth Rollins wasn't content with just being the best wrestler in the ring. He wanted to be unforgettable outside of it, too. So as the pandemic era shifted the WWE landscape, Rollins did what only the greats can do. He evolved. Again, no more black vests, no more architect. What came next was unlike anything WWE had ever seen. A man of madness, a preacher of pain, a fashion icon with a messiah complex. Now, you can't talk about Seth Rollins without talking about the drip. Around 2020, he pivoted. Gone was the architect. In came the Monday Night Messiah, and later the visionary. He wore wild suits, gave deranged promos, became half cult leader, half fashion icon. It was weird, it was risky, but it worked. Because Rollins did something no one saw coming. He became a character who could constantly reinvent himself without ever losing who he was in the ring. From suits that looked like they were sewn in hell, to laughter that echoed through arenas, Rollins leaned into the bizarre, and fans loved it. He became wrestling's David Bowie, always evolving, always performing, always one step ahead of the game. In 2023, WWE creates a new World Heavyweight Championship. Many fans see it as a consolation prize, the belt Roman Reigns didn't hold, a lesser title. But Seth Rollins didn't treat it like that. He made it matter. With open challenges, instant classics against AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre, and Shinsuke Nakamura, Rollins treated the World Heavyweight Championship as the championship. And in doing so, he restored prestige to a brand new title. Even while dealing with chronic back injuries, he wrestled through the pain and never once phoned it in. Because Seth Rollins doesn't coast. Seth Rollins had turned the secondary world title into the world title through grit, work ethic, and pure excellence. He didn't need validation, but validation came anyway, in the form of the most unlikely ally joining hands with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 41. You could feel the air leave the arena. In one of the most stunning moments in WWE history, Paul Heyman, the man who made Roman Reigns a tribal chief, the man who once walked CM Punk to glory, stabbed both of them in the back and sided with Seth Rollins. No one saw it coming. Not Roman, not Punk, not even Rollins himself. But that's what makes it poetic. Because for years, Seth Rollins fought the machine. He wasn't the chosen one. He had to build his kingdom without a wise man whispering in his ear. But now the wise man came to him. In storyline, and maybe even in reality, Paul Heyman saw the writing on the wall. Roman's empire was crumbling. Punk's return was nostalgic. But Seth Rollins was the future, still hungry, still adapting, still ready to burn it all down. This wasn't just Heyman switching sides. This was the final passing of the torch. The greatest mind in wrestling had chosen the most adaptable wrestler of his generation. And once again, Rollins wasn't just part of the story. He was the story. Now, after everything, every betrayal, every reinvention, every war, Seth Rollins was ready to write the next chapter of his legacy. And that chapter begins with a trio no one saw coming: Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, and Braun Breaker. This unlikely alliance is still fresh, still volatile, but it's already shaking the foundations of the WWE roster. Rollins has always thrived in factions, whether it was the Shield or the Authority. But this might be his most dangerous configuration yet. For the first time, Rollins isn't just the workhorse or the wild card. He's the general. He's teaching, guiding, leading the next chapter of WWE. He's no longer just fighting for himself. He's building something bigger. And if this alliance lasts, it won't just change storylines. It will shape the next decade of WWE. Because when the visionary joins forces with the wise man and the prodigy, you're not watching a stable, you're witnessing the birth of WWE's next empire. So, how did Seth Rollins change WWE forever? He wasn't born into a dynasty. He didn't walk in with the hype of a generational star. He clawed his way up from dark matches and developmental and proved, with every match, every reinvention, and every sacrifice, that he belonged. He changed what it meant to be a main eventer. He blended indie intensity with WWE polish. He made wrestling cool again for the diehards and the casuals. He brought back the art of reinvention and made longevity look exciting. While others chased moments, Seth Rollins built an era, and with Paul Heyman by his side and Braun Breaker at his heels, he's not done yet. Because Seth Rollins doesn't just perform, he redefines. He doesn't just adapt, he leads. He doesn't just play the game, he changes the rules. In a world where legends are born from single moments, Seth Rollins, he's been changing it quietly and constantly for over a decade. And chances are, he's not done yet. And don't forget to subscribe for more such amazing wrestling videos only on Smackverse.